Hey everyone, I'm Ethan and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I will introduce some general concepts about Chinese language to give you a broad understanding of it. You will also see some comparisons between Chinese and English, allowing you to experience the unique way Chinese operates. Alright, let's get started. First, it's important to understand that, except for Chinese, all the languages you know are phonography, which means they use symbols that represent sounds at the smallest units. These symbols are combined in various ways to form pronunciations and meanings. The number of symbols is usually small, and they don't have inherent meaning on their own. The pronunciation of a word is determined by how these symbols are arranged. So when you say a word, you can generally guess how it's pronounced. Chinese, however, is the only ideogram writing system in the world, which works very differently. In Chinese, each character is the smallest unit and carries its own basic meaning. By combining these characters, more complex meaning can be expressed. This allows Chinese to maintain a stable character set. Unlike English, which often adds new words to accommodate new concepts or things. The challenge with Chinese is that the pronunciation of a character is not directly linked to its shape. You can figure out how a character is pronounced just by looking at it. Learners must memorize both the pronunciation and the strokes of each character. This is why Chinese is more complicated for beginners. So, how many characters exactly are there in Chinese? When you open the Great Dictionary of Chinese characters, you will find 57,000 characters like a vast army of Asian pictograph ready to be awakened. But don't let that number scare you. The reality is, most of these characters are in a sleeping state. With the exception of a few such as Chinese language specialists, most people rarely encounter the less commonly used ones. So, how many characters do we actually need for daily life and study? The answer is about 3,500. But even better news is that just 1,000 commonly used Chinese characters can cover 92% of all written material, and 2,000 cover 98%. Even the highest level of Chinese proficiency test, HSK6, requires only around 2,600 characters. Moreover, Chinese vocabulary and grammar are basically based on these characters, so when you master enough of them, learning words and grammar becomes incredibly easy. Meanwhile, across the globe in US, adults need to master 26,000 to 30,000 English words just to get by in daily life. So learning Chinese isn't as hard as it's often made out to be. When you struggle with memorizing Chinese characters, remember this. With just 3,000 characters, you can grasp a language that has supported 5,000 years of civilization. Is this much cooler than endlessly memorizing the phonetic words, ready to build your Chinese word with your word Lego? Okay, now let's take a look how Chinese characters work. The first thing we need to understand is that a single Chinese character can already be a complete word. For example, 茶, 书, and 路. These characters can be used on their own. In fact, about 20% of Chinese words consists of just one character. Two-character words are even more common. They make up around 70% of them. So together, over 90% of Chinese words are either one or two characters long. Words with 3 or more characters exist, but they are relatively rare. Now, let's try combining some characters. These 6 characters means hand, cover, fly, machine, electricity, and brain. But when you put them together, they create new meanings. Hand and cover combine to form glove. Flying and machine combine to form plane. And electricity and brain combine to form computer. See how it works? It's pretty easy to understand, right? This is the logic behind how Chinese vocabulary is built. It's natural, intuitive, and doesn't require a lot of memorization. You don't have to invent new words. Just take existing ones from the character pocket, combine them, and you've got a new word. Isn't that a fun and simple way to learn Chinese vocabulary? One notable feature of Chinese language is this system of categorizing vocabulary. In Chinese, words with similar characteristics are grouped into categories. These categories are then differentiated by adding special words or attributes to describe their distinct features. This system is quite different from English. For example, consider the words goat, sheep, lamb, ewe, and ram. Although they refer to different types of animals, they share common characteristics. In Chinese, all of these would simply be referred to as yang. So, no matter which one you see, you can simply say, that's yang. But how do we tell them apart? It's simple. We add attributes before yang. If we add an environmental attribute, it turns into shan yang, which means goat. If we add appearance-related attribute, it becomes mian yang, which means sheep. If we add age attribute, it becomes gao yang, meaning lamb. If we add gender attribute, we get gong yang for ram and mu yang for ewe. There are no entirely new words to be created. It's all about simple combination. This method of classification makes the new vocabulary easy to understand and remember. Even if you come across unfamiliar words, recognizing the component characters can often help you guess its meaning. Let's try guess the meaning of an unfamiliar word. We have two characters. One character means heart. The other character means acid. What do you think this Chinese word means? That's right, it means feel sad. Thanks to this feature, learning new words in Chinese become much easier. The reason why Chinese tends to form words using compound characters is because Chinese pronunciation is concise. Each Chinese character is pronounced with a single syllable, and there are no exceptions. Two characters simply make up two syllables. Let's take a moment to feel it. For example, 忍, 勤奋. As mentioned earlier, over 90% of Chinese vocabulary consists of one or two character words, meaning that just one or two syllables can cover the vast majority of Chinese vocabulary in terms of pronunciation. Additionally, Chinese syllables have clear boundaries, so when speaking, there's no need to deal with the issue like linking, weak vowels, or changes in vowel lengths. Pronunciation is also unaffected by grammatical changes. I will provide a detailed introduction to Chinese character pronunciation in a future episode. Now let's look at some examples of Chinese and English comparison to demonstrate the simplicity of Chinese pronunciation. Internationalization, 国际化. Characteristically, 典型的. Misunderstand, 误解. In specialized fields, such as medicine and chemistry, Chinese pronunciation becomes even more advantageous. For example, electroencephalogram, 脑电图. Hepatosplenomegaly, 脾腺肿大. Polypropylene, 聚丙烯. Ammonium chloride, 氯化铵. Another common example is numbers. The pronunciation of 6, 7, 8, 3, 5, 0 in Chinese would be 6, 7, 8, 3, 5, 0. Isn't that convenient and efficient? Alright, I hope today's video have given you a fresh perspective on Chinese language. In the next episode, I will introduce some more advanced knowledge about Chinese pronunciation. See you next time. Bye.